It's time for us to take a look at the agricultural sector. This time we're going to Kebbi State, where the state government plans on increasing the agric extension workers there from 69 to 1,000. Now, so far, they have been able to successfully increase the number from 69 to about 650, but there are plans to make it 1,000. Let's look at the place of agric extension workers as Nigeria plans for food security. We'll bring in a guest in a bit, but before then, one man who also consumes food and would like to see Nigeria achieve food security is in the studio. Let's talk with him, Femi.
Interesting. You know, there's something about Kebbi State. The interesting thing about that is that an average person in that state is a farmer.
Yes.
Not just a farmer.
That's the first calling.
Yeah, that's their first calling. I like that word. It's their first calling. So an average person is like a rice, you know, because Kebbi State is the largest producer of rice. You know, when it comes to rice farming in Nigeria, Kebbi State comes to mind. And so the government of Kebbi State this time around has decided to see how they can maximize the opportunity to make some gains to increase the IGR. And to do that, the government feels it's necessary to put the right mechanism in place. Apart from the resources, it's also good to also drive the policies with the right human beings, with the right workers, and that's why I decided to go these routes. Now, the plan is to see how to take advantage of the privilege they have in that state. You know, there's been advocacy that the state government shouldn't depend on federal allocation, shouldn't just look at what they will get from the federal government, but should also look inward. And now Kebbi State being the hub for rice farming, the state government wants to take advantage of that to make proper gains. And that's why if you look at the bilateral relation between Nigeria and China, Kebbi State is one of the states that has decided to take advantage of that so that they can maximize the gains from agriculture. And this time around, they are looking at rice farming. So to achieve this, there's a need to have these extension workers who will go from one local government to the other to supervise, to provide the right counsel. You must understand that doing businesses is important. It's also important to have the right knowledge. And for this knowledge to be passed to these people, because most of them are in the rural areas, and for this right instruction to be passed to these people, especially when it comes to the nitty-gritty of modern farming, you have to engage these extension workers who are trained. They are experts who have the knowledge to share with these people, to give them the right information, counsel about how they can go about about agriculture and farming. Most of the time, what you see, these farmers, all they do is to provide for their own and their family, you know, what you call subsistence kind of farming. But the modern farming requires that this has to be commercialized. And so the government is looking at how to expand the scope of these rural farmers, not just providing for their families or for the people around them, but to see how they can engage in commercialized kind of farming or rice farming, so that that can make impact on the IGR of the state. And so that's why these extension workers have been co-opted into this system, into this policy. So the idea is for them to go from one local government to the other, from one town, from one village to the other, to advise the people and also supervise this kind of project. But you know, when it comes to having this kind of policy, it always comes with challenges like the issue of logistics, you know, the funds that will be devoted into this. And that's why they are keen into that kind of bilateral agreement between Nigeria and China, where certain funds have been provided to oversee this kind of project. So Kebbi State is taking advantage of this so that they can maximize the gain. And I strongly believe it's also a way to create jobs, you know,
yes,
job creation for some people.
Yes, but I wonder how they left the number at 69 before now planning to increase it. And it's not just about Kebbi State, it's about all the other states. And that speaks to the importance that how much a lot of states are not giving importance to extension workers. But Femi, you've said a lot about it. I just know that you have so much more to say. But before we bother you much, let's talk with Akande Olalekan Paul, who is our guest today, and he joins us virtually. He's of the Institute of Export of Operations and Management, IEOM, Nigeria. Good morning and welcome to Early Exchange.
Good morning, and I'm happy to be here this morning. How are you doing?
making it. All right, let's look at extension workers first. What roles should they play towards increasing productivity in the agriculture sector?
Thank you very much. Extension workers play very critical roles in agricultural development. You know, everything is changing. Every day we have new, improved breed, new practices, best practices. Climate change is happening. And most of these farmers doesn't know about this and they don't have this information. So it's the role of the extension worker to bridge the gap between the information, new practices, new things being produced, maybe by research and development, maybe by industry. It is the research extension workers that bridge this gap, that bring this information to the farmer. So that's why they play that crucial role, because farmers cannot continue to practice what they have known maybe for the past 20, 25, 30 years. Things have moved. There's a new way of producing. There's new seed variety. There's what we call climate smart agriculture right now. There's new way of packaging our product, new way of harvesting, post-harvest handling. So most of the farmers are smallholders. They don't have access to this information. So it's the role of extension worker to take this information to them, to take these new practices to them, and to train them or teach them on how to do it so that they can maximize their production on the field. So the role of extension workers is very critical, very crucial. That it amuses me that to know that a state in Nigeria, we have just 69 extension workers where almost the entire population, if not maybe 70–80% of the entire population are farmers. This is appalling, and I just have to give kudos to that state for bringing out this number and trying to improve it. You know, if we have to do audit of all the states in Nigeria, you know, it's not going to look funny of what we are going to get. So the role of extension worker is very critical. If we must be self-sufficient in food production, if we must overcome this food insecurity we are fighting today, then we must put more effort. We must spend more money, invest so much in extension worker. And just like the guest in the studio has said, it's a way of creating job, not just developing the farmer. This extension worker that they are engaging, they are creating job for them. So when we say there's unemployment, there's no job in Nigeria, there are so many avenues we can create job that people authority are not looking at that. So like I said, the role of extension worker is so critical that government, not just government, private sector must look to that direction and invest into it.
All right, interesting. Apart from creating jobs, there are also concerns about the quality of training that are going to be passed on to those farmers, which will start from the extension workers themselves. I would like you to talk in this regard. What kind of training should be given to the extension workers in the first place? And what kind of mechanism should be put in place to ensure that the right trainees or the right instructions are being passed to these farmers?
Thank you very much. You know, we are so blessed in this country. We have so many higher institutions. We have so many specialized agricultural institutions in Nigeria, from maybe what we call the monotechnic. We have vocational training colleges, we have monotechnic, we have polytechnic, we have even universities that are specialized in agricultural training, that have the right knowledge, the right tools to train our extension worker, to impact them. But there are so many students graduating today that graduated as extension and rural development experts. So the place, the right trainings, we have it. You know, in Nigeria, we have almost everything. You have the policy, right policy. It's just the way of implementing that we always lack one thing or the other. So training them, and not just to actually directly respond to that, it's not just going to be theoretical training, which most of the time some university or higher education does. It's have to be practical oriented training that this extension worker has to understand first and hands-on on the field training, so that when they also want to pass on this training to the farmer, they know exactly what they are passing on. So it's not going to be just virtual or theoretical training. It's going to be practical or hands-on training. And it's very important, and I'm very happy that a government of a state is taking on these challenges. If every state government, is taking on these challenges, then they are going to devote some attention to their training and retraining. Because like I said before, every time now and there's new technology, new innovation, new researches, new improved system, new way of production, good agricultural practices is coming out. So there should be training and retraining from time to time, so that they are going to be building their own capacity as they pass on to the farmer. And of course, if you hire extension workers and they are not adequately taken care of, it's going to be difficult to be able to also perform their duty as expected. So their welfare packages should also be taken care of very well, so that they can focus on the job on which they have been employed, and pass on this information to the farmer, who will eventually implement it on their farm and improve their productivity, their yield, their post-harvest handling, and at the end of the day, we are going to be food sufficient in that state and generally in the country.
Okay, kudos to Kebbi State government for planning to have 1,000 extension workers. But there are 21 local governments in Kebbi State. If you have 1,000 extension workers, would it even be enough? How many extension workers do you think is ideal per local government? And how much do you think they are needed in mechanized farming? Because if it's mechanized farming, do we still need extension workers? Speak to that, please.
Well, I think we need to just appreciate them that they've started something. If you look at some indicator like 2020, the African Seed Access Index, they brought out some indicator, and their report showed that Nigeria has the lowest extension workers to farmers globally or in Africa. So, and they were estimating from the indicator that they show up that Nigeria, depending on the state you find yourself, we have one extension farmer from 2,500 farmer to even some state 10,000 farmer. Just like you said, which is grossly inadequate, very, very inadequate. So, like I said, we need to give kudos to them. They have started. 1,000 is insignificant number, but at least they have started something. For me, the advice I'm going to give to them is that this should not be the end. This should be a continuous thing. If they can make it up to 1,000, maybe Q1 2024, and maybe in the third quarter of 2024, they have another 1,000 added to it. Then we can say, okay, they have started something. And ideally, maybe each local government, depending on the population of that local government, because each local government is not evenly populated. Some local governments are more populated than other local governments. So based on the population of the local government, then they can now assign the extension workers to that local government. And not just based on the local government, based on the production, agrarian opportunity, that's agricultural opportunity, and that is taking place in that local government, we now determine what number of extension workers to be allocated to that local government. Ideally, if we can have one extension worker to between 200 to 500 farmers, I think that will go a very long way to be able to help our farmer to produce maximally.
Do we still need extension workers as much when there is mechanized farming?
even when there is mechanized farming, like I said, there are every time now and then, there are new systems coming out. It is extension workers that has to take it to the farmer. Now, if you have mechanized farming, which means you can do more production per time, maybe per hectare, because of the machinery that is available. But the people that will operate the machine, they still need to be trained. New machine is also coming up. Now, these days, you have planter, you have small scale machinery that can plant, that can weed, that can harvest, that can do so many things which are not there before. So we still need the extension workers to train these people, to retrain them in the new way of doing it. So even when there is extension workers, just like a lot of people were afraid of AI, that AI will take away our job, but there are still certain things that even the AI you are talking about, somebody has to program it, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't program what is going in, it cannot bring out something. So we cannot overemphasize the role of extension worker. We cannot say it's going to be reduced, even when there's mechanized farming. As far as agricultural sector is concerned, we still need more extension workers. We still need more expertise. We still need more people with expertise in different areas of agriculture to be able to be self-sufficient in this country. So we cannot underplay the role of extension worker, even when we have mechanized farming.
All right, great. Now, based on your findings and your research, what are some of the shortcomings or setbacks when it comes to extension services in Nigeria? What are some of these shortcomings that needs to be improved on? And then the government of Kebbi State should be wary of so that this scheme will achieve the purpose intended. Talk to us generally in Nigeria, some of the shortcomings when it comes to extension services.
Thank you very much. Earlier on, I mentioned something that the welfare packages of these engaged extension workers should be looked into. You know, this one primary area in Nigeria, especially when it got to the public sector, that we often underplay. And that's why when people are not motivated to do what they are asked to do, it will be difficult for them to deliver. So first and foremost, their welfare packages should be of priority. And apart from that, there was a question earlier that how should they be trained? Even the extension workers should also be undergoing retraining from time to time, refresher courses from time to time, because new things keep coming out every day, every time. If we need to meet up with global level of people to be self-sustained in Nigeria, then they also need to be retrained from time to time. Then another key area that has to be looked into is rural infrastructure, especially like road network and some other things which affect so many things. Because if I need, as an extension worker, I'm based in maybe the headquarters of the local government. If you look at our local government system and look at where we farm, the rural area, they are far apart. Like, especially, for example, in Kebbi State and most part of the north, where you have vast area of land and where the extension worker need to cover. And if the road is not motorable, even to get bike and some other thing, no, just like I said, welfare, if this guy is not adequately taken care of, it will be difficult. If it's supposed to cover maybe a radius of 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers apart from day to day, from time to time, and the place is not motorable, the accessibility is difficult, you know, that will not also make them to deliver the way they are supposed to do. So welfare packages, refresher training from time to time, then rural infrastructure, so that, you know, when our rural area is also very well accessible, people, and probably you have the issue of electricity in general anyway. If it's well accessible and you have maybe electricity and everything is okay in the rural area, somebody like me, I would prefer to even stay in that rural area to be able to meet the people who are actually doing the farming themselves and pass this information to them. So extension worker would want to stay close to the farmer, but if the place is not really habitable, so to say, compared to what we have in the urban area, no, it's difficult for these people to even stay long there. They may want, when they're supposed to meet, maybe twice a week, they may do it maybe once or twice in a month, which will not be adequate. So it's very important we look at those areas.
All right. Does the job of the extension worker end on the farm? Are there other roles they can play in facilitating effective farming?
Not really. It's not just on the farm, but like their primary role, understand get the information, the right knowledge, the right practices, pass on to the farmer who will do the production. But for me, I don't think it stopped there, because the issue of food production doesn't stop with just producing the food. It moves on to until the food gets to the market and the food gets to the table of you and I that are speaking today. So, and if you look at some data, you can see that a third of the food a farmer produces does not even get to the market in the right quality, while another 1/3 end in the market because of the way we handle it. So the way the farmer produce, the post-harvest handling, which may not be the farmer any longer, still lie on the extension worker to be able to educate every actors in this value chain on what to do, how to handle the food, how to do preservation, packaging very well, so that the food can get to the table of you and I in the right quality. So it's not just on the farm alone. They still have a role to play in educating the populace on how to handle the food the right way.
Now, when you look at most of the farmers in the rural areas, they are largely uneducated, illiterate or semi-illiterate. And if you look at the level of poverty, illiteracy, that could be a challenge. So how much of setback will that be for an extension worker who is trained in a place like Lagos or in the urban area in providing the right services for these rural dwellers?
Well, that's why they are extension workers. That's one of the areas of expertise. We know, and the people designing their curriculum, their training, knew very well that, especially in our own area, geographical location, most of these farmers are located in rural area, number one. Most of them are semi-literate, few are literate, number two. So they have been trained in that way to be able to pass on this information in the way the farmer will understand it. And like I said earlier, the mode of training is a specialized one. Some of the material, some of the booklet needed before you get to the farm, and that's why the road, like I said earlier, that government has to, our private sector, we have to invest in extension worker or extension services very well. Some of these booklets have to be translated into local languages, and that's why as an extension worker, when you know where you are located, some basic knowledge of that location, you need it, languages and some other things, so that if the person cannot communicate to you in English language, which is the mode of our communication and educational sector, then you should be able to flow in the local languages. Somehow you should be able to translate what you are having in your hand. If it's not yet been translated, you should be able to interpret it and talk to the man on the farm, either is Hausa, basic Hausa language, or basic Yoruba language, or Igbo language, or whatever location you find yourself. So it's one of their prerequisites in training, as if you want to be an expert extension officer, that has to be part of what you should know, that wherever you find yourself, you should be able to adapt to that local environment and speak to the people the way they will understand. Because if they don't understand what I'm telling them, then your work is in vain. It's not going to produce anything. So it's very important when they are being trained. That should be part of what they should know before they go on.
Now, in trying to help that situation where some extension workers may not be from that environment, would it be possible to train the locals and use them as extension workers?
It's possible. It's very important. You know, when, especially if you are working with farmer in clusters, and these days we even try to put them together in cooperative, you have among them, we call them lead farmer. We have few of them that are a bit literate, that can understand, that can flow with extension staff that is coming. Such people among them will be trained by the extension staff, extension worker, that of course, if he's there or he's not there, this person can do at least some of the services that the extension worker can do. So it's possible, and it's something that is even being done in some other places. So part of this local member of the clusters or cooperative or the community will be trained. At least you have few of them, 1, 2, 3 of them that are more literate or enlightened than the other. These ones can be guided by the extension worker, can be trained to now, they can do what we call training of trainer to these guys. They will now be of assistance to the extension workers, to the other farmers. So it is very, very much possible.
Now let's look at the area of supervision. It is one thing to train extension workers. Even when you deploy them, there are reports suggesting that some of them don't get to places of primary assignments. What kind of supervision should be put in place to ensure that these extension workers, they do what is expected? In management, that's what we call control mechanism. So what kind of control should be put in place to ensure that these people are being monitored and well supervised?
Well, no, that's one issue we have in this part of the world. People are not sincere to what they are supposed to do. If everybody is sincere to what they are supposed to do, in fact, we may not be having this discussion anyway. But in those days, I know they used to have like supervisor, zonal supervisor that also periodically goes around to see if this person is there or not. They have a booklet to fill. But I think these days, technology can make something simpler. Now, if like like Kebbi State now, for example, that has started this thing, they can go a step further, provide this extension worker with gadgets, maybe just a palm, a tablet that will be equipped with geolocation application and some other thing, that their supervisor will have his own tablet that contains the information of all the extension worker under his own jurisdiction. And every morning or every day, at a particular time, they should be able to log in into their tablet to be able to sign into a particular location where they are. And of course, the supervisor can get the message immediately on his own tablet, and his own record can also show that this particular person is at certain location. So for me, the age we are, technology is helping so many things, just as we are seeing in the, maybe in the farming, mechanized farming. Today we see drone even helping the working in the farming sector in application of chemical or fertilizer. So we can deploy the same technology using of geotag ability, capability on our tablet, that as this extension worker is in certain jurisdiction or location, supervising, or he will log in into its own tablet, and as soon as he log in, maybe send certain information, the supervisor can get that, okay, he's here. And that should not also take away the role of supervisor by also paying unscheduled visit periodically to certain area to find out if these extension workers are actually there or not. But the technology can also help a lot to monitor this.
Let's look at rice farming, which is the predominant farming in Kebbi State. What can be done to enhance that? Now, the governor of Kebbi State prides in the fact that, according to him, Kebbi State is the largest producer of rice in Nigeria. And they're having a partnership between China and Nigeria. They want to leverage on the partnership between China and Nigeria to enhance investment in different sectors. Key among them is agriculture. What should be looked at in this area to increase the output from rice production in Kebbi State?
Thank you very much for that question. You know, most of the time when we talk about rice in Nigeria, it's like a pain to me, because I have the opportunity to spend some my early years in the northern parts of the country, precisely in Niger State. I remember those days we grow the rice that we eat. So today when we clamor for foreign rice, it's a pain. Nigeria shouldn't have any point of importing rice. We have all it takes to produce the rice that can feed us in this country. So Kebbi State government, they are in the right direction. Now, what we do in Nigeria predominantly is like seasonal farming. We wait for the rain to come, and when the rain comes, like what they call agriculture, we call rain-fed farming. So if this can be extended to dry season farming, using irrigation, so that there won't be a time in the year we are not producing, especially in that state. They have access to water, they are close to some river area, they have good land. So they can do, as they are getting this partnership from China or any other foreign government or country, they should invest so much in maybe what we call dry season farming. And these days, apart from what they use for pumping, you know, for irrigation farming, you need to pump water and you need energy to do the pumping. And people will tell you fuel is now very expensive. And with regard to climate change, we are even preaching, so to say, that we should go climate smart. So now, these days, you can have smaller pump equipped with solar. So they can invest in this solar pumping machine irrigation system so that rice can be produced all through the year. And it's not just paddy rice production. Of course, that is the core, because that is the basis. So invest in rice season farming, solar pumping machine to tackle climate change, then improve breeding of rice. Should also be looking to new genetics and some other things should be looked into. And apart from the paddy, a whole lot of work should also be done in the processing of the rice, so that our rice can compete competitively with what the so-called foreign rice that people pay so much money to buy. So they should focus more on dry season farming, invest in pumping machine to combat climate change, and also more investment in the processing technology.
Thank you so much for your submission. You know, we just have to leave the conversation here. We'll always have another time to revisit it. Thank you so much for your time and your commitment. No doubt you've done justice to this. We're quite grateful.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much too for having me.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.